Hey, buddy.
Hey,
How you doing,
welcome,
man?
welcome, welcome. I'm doing good.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you too, sir. You enjoying your Friday?
I'm loving Friday, man. The sun is out in Seattle, so you got to love that. But it's supposed to be more snowpocalypse soon. So,
Yes,
yeah,
I saw that in the weather. But the nice thing is
good.
it's supposed to be like snow, but also warm like right after it. So I don't think it'll stick
All
around.
right. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're not going to
Who
die.
knows? I don't think so. I think we'll be okay. But don't quote me on that. Don't quote me on that.
Oh, man. All right. You ready for this week's tip of the week? What's the deal, man? You ready to
I
jump into
am.
some good
Well,
stuff for people?
yeah, I think one of the things that's top of mind for me is this little blog article that got leaked online, and not so much leak, it was published, but from a guy we might mutually know named Jason Miles,
There you go.
who talking about Facebook. It was on McGraw Hill's website because about he's got a new book coming out here soon, Instagram Power, and this is particularly about Facebook on the blog article. And so we want to talk about that today and kind of hash out the
Yeah.
decline, the potential decline, the current decline of Facebook as a platform for marketers and just visibility and all that fun stuff. So give us a little context. Tell us a little about like what you wrote and what your thinking is behind it.
Yeah. The name of the article was Is Facebook the Yellow Pages of 20 years ago?
Ouch.
And
Not,
that is the $64,000 question, I think, man. You
yeah,
know, happy to. We'll link up the article in the show notes underneath and
sure.
have people look at it. But my basic argument is two pieces of data that I think are interesting,
Yeah.
and you feel free to debate. But Pew Research survey came out a month and a half ago or so, and it said basically last year 44% of 18 to 29-year-olds deleted Facebook off their phone. And presumably they don't use it on their computers either, so they're done with Facebook. So that was a Pew Research article came out. And then I believe the percentage of all users that deleted it was something like 34%. I might be wrong on that one, but I know that the demographic of 18 to 29 was 44% of users. It's a
Mm-hmm.
massive, massive decline in use. And so you just can't ignore that. And you could
Right.
debate whether the survey was done properly and whether it's actually true or not. Facebook's quarterly call was just a week and a half ago or so, and their year over year user growth continues to eke up slightly. So they're not acknowledging any kind of issue in that regard. That I didn't hear anyway. But the other argument that is associated in the article is the shareaholic data that basically shows, and we can link to this as well. It's in the blog post that referral traffic from Facebook to websites has been in a long multi-year decline. I mean, it's like since 2014, I think was the peak. Now that could be deliberate on Facebook's part. They could be truncating the push off of Facebook onto other websites for commercial purposes. In essence, they limit the amount of traffic that leaves Facebook, and they obviously want people to pay. And so they're moving it from organic referral traffic to paid referral traffic off of Facebook. That might be a fair argument to make as to why that has been a long-term, multi-year, serious decline. But when you put those two things together, that begs the question: is Facebook sort of like the Yellow Pages of 20 years ago, which was very used, a free product that is advertisement based, huge circulation. Every American household got a Yellow Pages book, and yet the Yellow Pages trended out of favor, and ultimately, I don't know of anybody that still. I don't even know if they still make the Yellow Pages book, but obviously became over time sort of outdated. That's sort of the gist of the argument. And the question is, well, plan B, so the first part is my argument correct? Is there this massive multi-year decline? And the other pieces that I mentioned in the article are that my own college age kids just, Facebook became uninteresting to them probably 4 years ago. I say as soon as grandma and grandpa showed up to Facebook, all the high schoolers and college age kids just weren't interested in being on there anymore. It's just awkward when your grandma comments on your, post to your friends. That's just not cool. And, you and I teach online marketing, and we literally have students who have said they can't do a Facebook related assignment because they don't have Facebook, nor do they want it, and they don't want us to make them get it, which is, and so all that goes to my thesis that Facebook might be in real problems, real serious decline. Do you disagree? What's your counter?
I disagree on referral traffic going down. I do think it's strategic from Facebook's standpoint that they want to keep traffic on Facebook because that's where they get their ad money.
Right.
Like once they leave Facebook as a platform, their opportunity to deliver impressions of ads drops, and therefore their opportunity to monetize their user base is declining. So that
there's two parts of that, right? One part is they don't want people to leave Facebook.
Correct.
So compare that to Pinterest, which Ben Silbermann said he built Pinterest so that people would leave Pinterest to go to other websites. So they don't want people to leave Facebook. But then if people do leave Facebook, they want it to be through a monetized ad-based click out of Facebook, right?
Exactly. So it's like, you're posting your content on your feed, and if it's linking out to an article or something like that, even just displaying your content as a brand, Facebook is prioritized, they'll say, from user experience. Like people want to be connected with their friends and see what their friends are doing. But in reality, they want brands and businesses to pay for visibility and access to their user base, right? So I don't disagree with that at all. And I do see the younger, 18 and under millennial and Gen Z moving off of the platform. But I think that's part of the maturing of a platform like Facebook. Like you mentioned, the grandmas. Now, the real question will be, can Facebook sustain international growth like it has? Because international growth has sort of been the driver for not only their user base growth in the last few years, but also their revenue growth.
I don't think that's the real question. The real question is, here's the real question. Well, no, because here's the real question. Do people's long-term use case for Facebook degrade over time? Like Google, I've never had a reason to stop using Google. Google in my mind has never been like, I don't like it anymore. It bothers me. It downs I literally have people in my family, I won't name names, who say, I don't go on Facebook. It's depressing.
Yeah.
So if the value proposition on the use case is got some 1% toxicity or something, where over time people are going to say nah, I don't want to use it anymore, then it doesn't matter how they're going to burn through the whole world. Every online user can be on Facebook, but over time it's going to trend down, in my view. I would think, and because
I do think that if there is such a negative connotation. Now, is it the fact that? But I guess one of the arguments to that would be: is that a Facebook specific problem, or is that a cultural, and Facebook's just reflecting what people are doing culturally at the moment? If it's like dumpster fire, everyone's complaining and blah, 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 and it's very, very combative and argumentative and all that kind of stuff. Is that, maybe that's a Facebook inherently into social media itself, but is it more reflective of culturally where we're at? And is it going to be a reaction to that mentality that people to dump that?
Or did Facebook make the culture in the US the way it is?
Exactly.
I think the question in my mind is Facebook's core attributes. Like if you just think about what Facebook does, it's basically a conversation, a typing based conversation model, relational. That's what it's based on, right? Yeah. So Instagram's not based on that. Instagram's basically just like, you like the photo, you like the video, and it's not a conversation intensive. And I just wonder if the social media version of reality that's conversation intensive is basically got too much toxicity in it, and that it's going to decline. And then Instagram or Pinterest or other sort of social media light type engagement sites are going to stay healthier longer. And that's because YouTube's another example. YouTube is not a conversation intensive, even if you consider it a social media site. It's just not the same sort of user engagement methodology. And so I, again, back to that question of long-term value of Facebook, they'll be fine as a company because they own WhatsApp and Messenger and Instagram, and they'll probably buy some more stuff along the way. But in terms of Facebook as a social media site, I think it's in long-term perpetual decline that's not going to be recoverable. I think it will be ultimately relegated to the MySpace category. And that's my theory. And I
can totally see that. I still think that they have the ability to make, obviously,
corrective course.
Yeah, they could
fix it.
And I think that they could start to test, and I don't know if they will be able to, but I think that they will probably try, or they're just going to let it do what it's going to do and be what it's going to be, and focus their attention on scaling and growing platforms like Instagram, which will probably account for, I think Instagram will probably by 2020 account for like 70% of their ad growth, in terms of new money and new revenue. So it is something very, very strategic to what they want to do. But then the argument comes back to what you made in the article. Is it going to be like the yellow pages of the 20th century? Because that, in essence, yellow pages, they're still around and people still get them delivered and use them, I guess. I don't know. I haven't used one in a long time. So they're still there, but will that sort of be the way that Facebook exists online?
Yeah. The question that I think a lot of people are wondering is it just, did Facebook win and therefore it is the default social media platform of the world, like Google is the default browse, like search engine of the world. And because some of these things are winner take all markets. And if that's true, and if Facebook does actually maintain its social media, like the one social media site in the world that everyone's on, then good for them. That would be amazing. I don't believe that's going to happen. I think people use it and stop using it. And they stop using it for specific reasons. It's depressing. It's too much stress, too much argumentative stuff. It's too much geo bragging from, it's an interesting dynamic, but all of the attributes of social cultural stuff that happen on Facebook, where it is a ton of positioning of yourself and geo bragging, and it just brings out those weird attributes in people, let alone the political stuff. And one of the best days of my life was when I figured out how to unfollow any content from, I won't say which political party, but anything published by a certain political party. You could just block it all in your Facebook. And once I learned that, I was like, well, at least that helps. But it's just like, this is a question. And so for marketers, the question is, what do you do? In my article, basically, the question is, what is your plan B? Like, if you, in the last 10 years, built all of your social media marketing around Facebook, and spend a lot of marketers, I'll be honest, a lot of the people we work with just blow money on Facebook ads. It's just a complete flush down the toilet, and without monetization metrics that make sense. In the absence of any proof of success, they will immediately gravitate to just trying to spend money on Facebook. And sometimes we just have to say, like, stop that. Like, stop. You're spending $500 a week and you're making $100 a week, and you continue to do that week after week after week after week. Like, stop doing that. It's like, so
bad
it's
seller.
just, it's like, but it's such the easy, obvious thing to do. And it is remarkably easy to do, to spend money on advertising on Facebook. So good for them for that. But as a marketer, the question is, what's the plan B? And, obviously my Instagram book is just coming out, revised and expanded. Previous to that, I had written Pinterest Power and YouTube Marketing Power. I was never against Facebook. I never wrote a book about it because there was no need in the market for more books about Facebook.
Yeah.
But it just never had the use case in my mind that Pinterest or Instagram or YouTube does for marketing purposes in the same way. So.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think just looking at it from a big perspective too, stepping back, Facebook still works as an advertising platform for sure.
Of course, sure.
But it's much more expensive and harder to target. One of the reasons why it's harder to target is they actually removed a bunch of the targeting stuff after Cambridge Analytica and all that snafu. So they actually stripped out a bunch of targeting options. So that, hurts the marketer. And just overall, the cost per the CPMs, the cost per impressions, are like double than what they were even a few years ago. So that makes it more challenging. And the reason why people are spending more money is because it's costing them more, but they're not adjusting their funnels, their strategies appropriately as it matures. It's very similar to how Google was at the beginning, right? When with AdWords, you could make a lot of money. You just spend because you had such cheap cost per impression that you could make it profitable. And Facebook was very much that same way. Now, as it matures as a platform, that the competition is much higher. So therefore you pay more and you have to have more robust strategies, deeper pockets, and be more sophisticated in your approach. With that said, I do think there are other opportunities for marketers to get cheaper cost per impressions. They can kind of go back. I think, obviously you mentioned Instagram and that has been proven to be a very, very lucrative channel and strategy for marketers to master. And you should be focusing on at least exploring using Instagram in your business and how do you scale that? How do you do that? And your book really outlines, step by step, walking people through how you do it, and also interviews with people that are absolutely crushing it. And so that's really cool. I think YouTube right now also has a pretty good value prop for marketers in terms of just CPM and value and some of the stuff that you can stack in it at through
for paid ads. Yeah, sure.
For paid ads. And then obviously we've done our influencer marketing masterclass as well. And I think influencer marketing might be the best deal currently in order to gain social media exposure. And if you're paying for it, but you're paying for it at such a level that you can scale into it with such low risk. Yeah. Test, you can really begin to develop your skill set around it. And without spending a massive amount like you would in advertising. Because to be honest, 98%, I don't know, I mean, it's high, of all marketing campaigns, you start out losing money.
Sure.
Because you don't have the data. So you have to actually go into it knowing for a fact, I'm going to lose money for month 1, month 2, maybe month 3. If I'm pretty quick in optimizing and testing and getting that stuff, it might take me 3 months before I have an actual campaign that's profitable.
Right.
So the question is, how many of you e-commerce sellers are willing to go 3 months in the red and test in order to gain a campaign that lets you to do that? And so you might get a month in and be like, I'm spending too much money, or you're not making the right tweaks in your campaigns, and you're not really actually testing it at a high level. And so you never really hit that point. So those are the things that I think about when I think about Facebook today. But in terms of even overall just traffic growth or lack of traffic growth, I think I read an article that said that Facebook's web traffic continues to even go down. Like their actual web traffic went from like 8.5 billion visits to 4.7. Which is crazy. I mean, that's a huge decline.
Massive decline.
And so some people are like, well, mobile apps are part of that, thing as well. And I'm like, yeah, that's true, but that's still a pretty decent, massive decline in actual website traffic. So
the people who are making the people who are trying to justify or deny or make an argument against those statistical facts that keep coming up related to Facebook are, generally speaking, social media marketers who have trainings on Facebook, or they have an ad-based, training on Facebook, or they're in the business of, sort of Facebook as the industry. And I think so, you just have to take their commentary with a dose of, whatever, reality. I mean, obviously, my book is on Instagram, so I want people to learn about Instagram. So obviously, that's my, sort of side motivation in some ways in terms of comparing and contrasting. But I don't think I'm wrong. I don't think it. I think it's undeniable that Facebook is in some weird declining kind of space. And the question is where it's going to ultimately fizzle down to. I think there's something, in crypto world where you and I have geeked out for a while. There's something called the flippening, where people talk about when Ethereum will basically take over the leadership position compared to Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if you look at the Shareaholic data and you see the referral traffic from Pinterest and Facebook, if you look at the charts, you can see it in the article. There is this long-term growth trend for Pinterest and this declining line for Facebook. And my theory is when those cross and when Pinterest starts referring more traffic to websites than Facebook does, it's like going to be the flippening in terms of the marketers and the people who are talking about, traffic strategies. And it's going to be undeniable, sort of proof that Pinterest is this sleeper, opportunity, because there's just so many people who just outright just ignore it, deny it, don't use it, make an excuse as to why. But yet when you look at the referral traffic stats, it is Pinterest versus Facebook right now, and they're in a death match, and Pinterest is rising and Facebook is declining. That'll be very interesting, when that happens. So I think right now it's something, or the latest data was something like 7.5% of all internet traffic is driven by Pinterest, and 18% or something about that is driven by Facebook. But that's from a high of like 30. So it's like on this,
down.
Yeah.
So. I think I also saw something. I think it was last summer where YouTube's total traffic numbers like bumped Facebook, because for the longest time it was Google and Facebook in terms of like overall monthly visitor traffic, and YouTube creeped above Facebook last summer, and actually Amazon creeped above Yahoo last summer too. So like Yahoo as a search was going down, like Amazon's like 2 billion monthly visits,
which is crazy. So weird to think that Yahoo is still even in that conversation, but so
it's really interesting how that goes. And then obviously the king of monthly traffic is still Google with 16 billion or something. Because it was a huge number. It's fascinating. It's fascinating.
It is. And the question is for marketers, what are you going to learn and grow into, there's nothing worse than trying to figure out how to do optimizing yellow page ads when yellow pages are literally like, so out of favor. And so, for people who are really spending time and energy trying to learn Facebook right now, it's not that bad yet. I mean, it's not to the same point, but give it another couple years and it could be where really, if you're learning Facebook strategies, you're just frankly so late to the party. It's sort of like, go find the new thing and learn it. So
I wonder if Facebook will sort of become, okay, I have to set up my Facebook business page, blah, 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 in order to really execute well on Instagram, since it's so well integrated. It's like, okay, we're doing our Instagram stuff and that's where we're spending most of our time. And to some extent, that's not true, since Instagram is very mobile focused. There are people who are crushing on Instagram and, they don't care about Facebook page, but maybe bigger brands or people that want to run ads and stuff like that. And maybe like, okay, we have to do our Facebook, but we're really just going to port over our Instagram content and just put it on Facebook. It also depends, I think, too, on your demographic. Like if you are going after 45, 55, 65-year-olds,
Facebook's your place.
You should be spending a lot of time and money on Facebook, right? And focused on that. So that's not. So that does play into it right now. but I mean, it's very similar. Like it's the standard product life cycle, right? Like
That's
you got
right.
the exponential growth of Facebook, and then it starts to flatten out, and then it goes into decline. And it'll be interesting if they see Instagram as sort of the next evolution of that curve,
Of course they do.
or is there, which is why they bought them, right? Like they totally saw it. They're smart people. And will they then just let that plateau out, continue to decline, and not really worry about it as a product, or are they going to try to re-engage that product and sort of try to jumpstart its growth again? Or are they just going to continue? Now, what they might end up doing is just continue to acquire new technologies as they roll out, because they have a whole boatload of money. It's not like that they're poor. And as Instagram continues, eventually Instagram's going to hit the plateau and it's going to go into the decline. And there'll be the next sort of level of technology that's out there, whether that's, 3D, like complete virtual reality, or whatever is the next sort of phase to this tech and social media and how we interact with technology. That will be interesting to see if Facebook is there to buy it up, or maybe even start it. They may be like working on it currently. So
the quarterly call that they most recently did, I think the highlights related to sort of their near-term hopes was groups, and really the construction of group management and usage is really sort of the highest value proposition. And that's been true for a couple of years. And I think they've realized that's the way in which you're going to keep people engaged, as in, affinity groups that make most logical sense. And then the other one that I think they're really trying to invest into is the marketplace sales, e-commerce opportunity on the site, which really would give them sort of a reason to exist beyond. I mean, if they could become the de facto Craigslist replacement and have that baked into Facebook, that gives them a long opportunity that does look more like e-commerce and less like social media. And in my view, if they can make that work, that could be a game-changing pivot. And really, Facebook, as we know it, would be declined. It would think of it more like a Craigslist that's pretty, that has more individual accounts exposed, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
To me, that might be the smartest possible long-term pivot, because Craigslist online selling stuff isn't going away anytime soon, and Craigslist has been sort of a dumpster fire for a long time, just in terms of it's amazing that people use it so much. It just proves the value proposition. But in terms of the aesthetic and the quality of it as a tool, I think Facebook could destroy, So I think that's, those are interesting conversations for maybe its future direction, so.
Yeah, definitely. No, I agree. I think that, and you've seen that sort of, or at least, so I just sort of basically taught our class on Facebook Marketplace a couple of weeks ago. And we talked about the growth of that marketplace over the last few years. And
do you have the stats? Is it huge?
It's significant growth. Yeah. It was big. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I do remember that in the last, I think it was, maybe it was even in the conference, like, so Facebook kind of does like their big, here's what we're doing, that's a cool thing. And Zuckerberg was highlighting marketplace in terms of growth and user adoption and all that kind of stuff. So
if the value proposition of the site ultimately turns into local merchant, local commerce, then that's a whole different animal. And I think most people would feel great that the political rants, geo bragging, and just whatever normal other social posts that just get literally exhausting, I think people would be glad to see those go by the wayside. I mean, it's just interesting behavior when you give people a publishing platform. Like for us in the last week, I said to Cinnamon yesterday, man, when it snows in Seattle, every one of my 1,500 friends becomes a weatherman, and all I see is like, there's snow outside our window. I'm like,
I know.
Everyone in Seattle does not need to post the same exact things on their Facebook feed, but it's just human nature. It's like, that's what they use it for, because it's just there for that. And they're fascinated by the snow falling out their window and want to share it with the world. But at the end of the day, all those people in Seattle have got to be on Facebook thinking, is this all there is to Facebook in the last week, is pictures of snow on our, I mean, so anyway, I'm fascinated by that kind of social behavior aspect of it too, so
yeah,
with no disrespect to any photos you shared related to the snow. So
I don't think I shared any. So.
I think
I might have sent a video to my mom who didn't have any snow, and I was like, "Hey, look, it's snowing," and it was about it.
Yeah. Well, good chat, man. So thank you for asking me about the article. We'll link it to the blog here as we embed this video, and love to have people check it out. If you disagree with my premise, then that's totally fine. And it's worthy of the conversation and the debate. And then of course, as it relates to Instagram coming out, Instagram Power, we'll have a link to that as well. Love to have you pick up a copy of the book, all of our latest Instagram strategies, techniques, interviews, that kind of thing. So good times, man. Good times.
Absolutely. Good stuff, man.
All right, buddy. Yep. Talk to you soon.
Bye.